Hey, hi
Hey,
guys.
hi guys. Thank you very
For
much for
joining us
joining us
again in
again in
this
this
second.
second session. The first session was a little bit chaotic on our side. Much apologies and thank you very much for your patience, right? Um it's we DIY a lot of things. you know but in all good faith, I'm very excited to bring you the next speaker for mental health fitness with alleviate, right? He is an amazing friend and someone who's inspired me in our my journey as an HIV prevention advocate, right? So a brief introduction. Our next speaker is Mr. Andrew Tan. He is the president of KLASS, which is short for Kuala Lumpur AIDS Services Society. He joined as a volunteer in 2002, and he actively provides support counseling to newly diagnosed patients with HIV. He also serves as the in the exco of Malaysian AIDS Council. Andrew has been very passionate about HIV treatment literacy, and he conducted trainings for KLASS and other organizations, myself included, inside and outside of Malaysia. He gives talks on HIV sensitization and awareness to medical students and staff of the Department of Health. And Andrew is currently on the International Coalition of Older Persons Living with HIV, right? He does not look old, right? And he is also the community representative of the Lancet HIV Commission on Aging and HIV, right? So to no further ado, it's my huge honor to pass the mic over to Andrew, my good friend.
Thank you very much, Ben. Really appreciate this invitation to share with everyone. Um, I just a short introduction to myself and why I'm here today. I was actually diagnosed with HIV in 1994. I believe that many of our listeners, uh, most of them were probably not born yet. So it's interesting to note that the diagnosis that I'm living with right now is actually older than most of your young people that you're helping right now. Uh, the main thing is that to take home from that message is that medication for HIV does work. It does work and it does suppress the virus long enough for you to recover your health and live a healthy, normal life. So, things that I've never been able to think about doing before is things that made me feel alive. When I was celebrating my 20th year of living with HIV, uh, I it was a time of retrospect because I've been helping people and I questioned what kind of work that I was doing and how much of effect I had on people's lives. And I was feeling a little bit burnt out. So I needed something to reinvigorate me. And I did something that was really out of my comfort zone. I learned to do scuba diving. I learned I had lessons in a safety of a swimming pool in PJ, and I did my open water exam in off Pulau Redang. And in fact, Henry is my instructor, and he's very specific on how to do things and how to make sure that you're safe and everything like that. So this is an advertisement for Henry as an instructor. But the experience itself was very different because under the water, the environment is totally silent, and you only hear your breathing, the bubbles going up, and everything. And it's a very calming feeling. And I think that reinvigorated me in what I was doing in my life and how much I wanted to help other people. So the first thing is coming back to the topic of overcoming challenges and identifying resources, as is in the title, is that to realize that everybody faces stress. From the moment you wake up in the morning, open your eyes, you feel stress. There's no such thing as anyone who doesn't have a level of stress. It can be what to wear that morning. It can be which route am I going to take to drive to work, and mentally reshuffling all the things that you have to do today to prioritize what is most important must be done, and what is later can wait until I'm free, that kind of thing. And something that I heard from one of the lectures that I went to many years ago was that the lecturer asked the whole auditorium, does anybody not have stress? And a few people put up their hands. And he said it's not possible because everybody faces stress. The only people who don't face stress are those people who are not breathing. And in a way, it's true. If we have stress, whether it is big or whether it's small, whether it's manageable right now or something that you have to work on for long term. So everybody has different levels of stress. It's just the question of how do we sort it out and how do we organize it in such a way that it's manageable for our own mental health. So all of us will come across sooner or later the events that change our lives. For me, it was my HIV diagnosis. It was a question of regret, a question of frustration. It was feeling scared, not knowing any information. Those were the days where we didn't have Google search. We couldn't just log on to the internet and find information. You had to dial up. For those people who are old enough to understand, to remember dialing up for the internet. It's strange because right now you just activate your phone with your thumbprint and everything is at your fingertips. You just ask a question and you scroll down to thousands and thousands of answers. So technology has changed our lives, but these events that we come across, whether it's a HIV diagnosis, whether it is the loss of someone close to us, something changes the way we see ourselves. It changes the environment, our feeling of the environment. But does it really change us? The interesting thing is that it is our perception of how other people look at us if they would know that I'm HIV positive. And it's not really their perception. It is our imagination of their perception or our anticipation of what we think they would say or think about us. So we are experiencing what is known as self-stigma, self-discrimination in a way. And there is a question of how do we overcome these challenges? So the important thing is identifying what it is. Because I do realize that many of our friends living in the Klang Valley, working here, they may not be local. They may not be from Kuala Lumpur or Selangor. They're living away from family and they're living by themselves in a rented apartment or a room. And they do not have the resources or the family environment that protects them the way that many of us who are local might have that. It's the safety of going back and having your mum cook food for you, or your auntie would cook food for you, or things like that. So what happens when you don't have these kind of resources? You got to look at dealing with the challenges first. The maybe the structure of it might change for different people, because each person listening here will have a different journey before this event. Before this thing happened, we were brought up differently. We went to different schools. We learned different languages. We learned about different cultures and things like that. So we deal with things very differently. One important thing is to acknowledge. For me, it took me a long time to acknowledge that I had HIV. And the frustration was that at that time there was not much medication and there was not much information. So I thought, okay, I'm going to die. So my whole mindset was focused on dying. My whole mindset was thinking about preparations, thinking about, I didn't have much at the time. So what do I leave my car? Who do I leave my car to? What do I do this? So it's really strange that my whole concept of living was actually focused on dying. And it was not until almost, I was actually in hiding for 8 years. I didn't share this information with many people. It was only the people who were closest to me, my partner, Ruben, and my family knew about it. But that was it. Not many of my close friends even knew about my status, my diagnosis. So acknowledging it is acknowledging the challenges that we face is the first step. Recognizing it and trying to understand what it means in our lives is the next step as well. And finally reaching the point of accepting what is in front of us. And how long that takes, that would be different for each person, of course. But the priority is, once you accept the challenge that is in front of you, then you can start dealing with resolving it and putting the solutions into place. As long as we don't accept what is happening in our lives, we keep denying, no, it's not true, they've mixed up my blood work with somebody else's, or no, I am using drugs, but it's okay, I can control it, I can handle it, I can stop anytime I want. A lot of excuses, a lot of reasoning that we give ourselves that we know not to be true, but the thing is that we choose not to recognize it. We choose not to accept it. And only when we do face something like that and accept it, that's when we can start rebuilding. We can start looking at our self-image. We can start thinking about ways to rebuild ourselves. So the fear is, there is always a tendency to think negatively, to look at self-destructive behaviors, to do things that might harm ourselves. And this can only mean one thing, that if we can't control it, it's very possible for us to spiral downwards. And I don't know when we will end up saying, okay, enough is enough, and look for help. So for the second part of the topic, which is identifying resources, the important thing for many of us is to look around us to see what is available. who is available, where is it? Is it close to me? Is it far? That means I have to plan my journey, my day to reach there. And when is it available? Is it like the way Clinic Kesihatan works, which is 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. There's nothing on Saturdays, there's nothing on Sundays. So that's where also our NGOs come in, because our NGOs are literally standing by to provide us help 24/7, right? I mean, not 24/7, because even our counselors need to sleep, right? They need to recharge, they need to rest. But the thing is that, you know what I mean? They are always there when they need us. So in a way, they function like emergency services, like the ambulance, like our fire department, our bomba. When we don't need them, they're still there. They're still on standby. They're still alert. They're still ready to jump into action whenever we need it. Um, and that's the thing. So when you ask me about what my resources were, it's very strange, because about the time when I was diagnosed, um, my brother and sister-in-law gave birth to my niece. And one of the strange things was that when I was carrying her, and they did something special because they thought that I was going to die. So they wanted me to spend time with my niece. And if anything should happen to me, at least I would have that experience. So they were supportive in that way, that they didn't discriminate. They made sure that every weekend they would bring her over, and I would feed her, I would burp her, I would rock her to sleep and everything. And we would have this constantly. And it ignited something in me. It was like, oh, I want to see her grow up. And then when she started growing up, oh, I want to see her go to school. When she went to school, I wanted to see her go to secondary school. And then when she did that, I wanted to see her go to university. And when she did that, I want to see her graduate. And the strange thing is that when she graduated, I actually flew over and attended her graduation at the University of Manchester. And it was such a pivotal moment of achieving my goal. But it was a very interesting process of every time I reached that goal, I moved my goalpost a little bit further. And I wanted to see her get married, and she's now married. And now the next goalpost is I want to uh, have to carry my uh, um, grandnephew, so to speak. So there are a lot of things that happen in our lives that we feel that um, might give us that inspiration to carry on. So think about what you have. And remember, you have to do something to create a safe environment for yourself. Find your clan, your group, your posse, whatever you call it. You have, number one, the family you're born into, not someone that is maybe supportive, but it's they are still your family. They are still a resource that you can tap into. The sister or brother that you're closest to. Then you have the family that you choose. And the family that you choose is actually the people that you meet at NGOs. And the only way you're going to meet them is if you actually take the brave step of going for events at the Belonging Center, at alleviates events, functions, talks, physically going there and meeting people, going to class for the support group meetings, for lectures, for talks, anything. But you have to take that first step, to leave your room, leave your house, you may get to know people online, but somehow it doesn't, how do you say, satisfy the soul to have someone who is really there in front of you, who can talk to you, who can give you support, who can look at you with real eyes to see and understand what you're talking about. For you to unburden, for you to share your journey so far. And at the end of the event, to say, I'll see you soon and give you a hug, things like that. It's only possible when we take that first step. So once you're able to do that, remember that your self-image, you can rebuild it. And when you rebuild it, you grow, you become active, and reignite your interest. What made you realize that you were alive, before that event happened, whether it is going for hiking trails or swimming or going to the beach or something like that, reignite your interest. Make sure you continue to look at, breathe, and realize that you're still alive. And here I am, 30 years later, after my diagnosis, when I thought I was going to die, and the medicines were AZT monotherapy, and you get no choices. And listening to Henry talk just now, it's like you realize how far we've come over the years, in terms of the treatment of medication within Malaysia, as well as the journey we have taken in our own lives. So I hope this has helped you. And I'm not sure if there are any questions in the chat, but let's, Tim, Ben, can you let me know if there's anything? Thank you.
See, obviously, Andrew is a very seasoned speaker. He's so on point with the time. Right. But thank you very much, I mean, for this very insightful, walkthrough and living with HIV. Yeah. And more so sharing so much hope to the community at large.